Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm here to talk about Supernatural, episode 1204, titled American Nightmare, which premiered Thursday, November 3rd, 2016 on the CWs. Guys, quick reminder, you are getting my first genuine reaction for this episode. As I'm recording it the night I'm watching the episode for the first time. So I only own my thoughts, theories, and predictions that I'm making. Everything else doesn't belong to me. I probably got the photos from Google if I use any. Otherwise, if it's my face, that one's only mine. Also, I'm not making any money off of these. This is just for fun. It's great to see what I thought when I first saw an episode, as our thoughts tend to change as time goes by, as we talk to more people about it, get different perspectives. Also, it's also fun to see if any of my predictions ever panned out or not. It's just great to have that I thought so, or I got it, or I knew it type of moment. So, with that said, let's get started with the 10-minute clock and let's begin. So, something new that we learned in this episode. So, in this episode, Sam and Dean find out about Castiel and Crowley working together, and that Lucifer is in his new vessel of Vince Vincente, and that Rowena dropped him at the bottom of the ocean. So, they're in the know for that. However, also, in light of what happened at the end of the last week's episode, Dean has been very grumpy over the fact that Mary has left. He has heard no word from her. Sam tries to get Dean to admit his worries. Dean eventually does and shares his fears over the fact that Mary may never return to them since she didn't want them growing up as hunters. So he's a little miffed about that. But at the very end, Dean does get a returning text from Mary where she states that she'll always be mom to him, since he wondered if he should call her Mary or not, and that she was doing okay and she just needed time. So there's that. So moving on to the case in general, it takes place in Mason City, Iowa, and it all starts when Olivia Sanchez was found with wounds caused by stigmata, which is a term for wounds matching crucifixion. She also has lashings on her back, and she ended up having a mushy brain after her last words spoken before she died was in another language. So that is what brought Sam and Dean to Mason City. Next day or the next night, another one died in the same form that Olivia did and ended up being the delivery boy. The connection between the two of them ends up being the Peterson family, who live off the grid on some farm, and they are said to be very religious, to the very point that they view death as God's will. So when their daughter got pneumonia, they didn't let a doctor treat her, they just let her die. However, it turns out that their daughter Magda was alive and being held prisoner in the basement, as the family thought she was the devil himself due to the fact that she had powers. Turned out that Magda was just psychic. She had telekinesis and she had telepathy. And it's reason why Olivia and the delivery boy died. They were done by Magda, but she didn't know she was doing it. She was trying to call for help through them. She was trying to connect with them on a psychic level, and then she was trying to give them a message, and the whole lashings was because she was lashing her own back, something her mom would force her to punish herself with, that ended up being transferred on to the victim themselves. And then all of their last words being spoken in a different language to them, it was the language that Magda was speaking every time she had to do a prayer. So she was begging for help through that language as well. So there's that. When all of this was said and done and revealed to Sam, it turns out that we also see Mrs. Peterson trying to kill her family by poisoning them with rat poison, so that they could be together in heaven, when it was obvious that once Sam was free, or when Dean came for him, that the family would be separated, since they believed that Sam and Dean were from child protective services. However, Mrs. Peterson does succeed with her husband, as he was the first one to eat the food. Magda saves her brother from eating it, but she wasn't able to save him from their mom, as Mrs. Peterson accidentally stabs her son Elijah when he was trying to save Magda from being stabbed by her. So, father and son are dead. Magda almost turned on her mother, but Sam convinced her not to. But in the end, the mother was arrested for her crimes. And unfortunately, Magda was killed later on during her travel to California, where she was going to live with her aunt, by the very hitman with the cross tattoo on his arm that the British men of letters has under their belt. So there is that. Pretty much summed the whole episode up. I didn't really mean to. But anyways, moving on. What was the most shocking moment of the episode? The fact that the motorcyclist that was stalking the Impala was the hitman that British men of letters has under their belt. When that motorcyclist paused in front of the Impala and just checked the license plates, I thought that they were the cause of the deaths that Sam and Dean were investigating. I thought that maybe the family was what was the wrong path for those killings, but then to find out that he's actually this hitman, I wasn't expecting that at all. No way. But moving on though, top 3 favorite moments. First one has to be the fact that Sam and Dean had disagreed on what their case was. Dean thought it was the Wiccan that worked with Olivia Sanchez that caused her death, while Sam thought it was a vengeful spirit that was haunting the Peterson family. So what I liked about that was the fact that we actually saw Sam and Dean butting heads over what the possibilities were behind the case. Usually we get them on the same page as to what it is they're hunting, what their next steps were to take that, but to actually see them arguing and trying to convince the other one that their theory was the right one was very interesting. I really liked that. It was great to see how they tried to argue their points against each other, and it was definitely a new take on the working relationship between the brothers, because like I said before, we usually see them on the same page, eye to eye on everything, on cases like this, and this time we didn't, so that was pretty cool. That's why I liked it. Another favorite moment has to be Dean getting a text from Mary. Just his reaction from finally hearing from his mom and hearing that she still wants to be called his mom. It was really nice. Definitely from his expression, it looked like he really wanted to hear that. He needed to hear that. Last favorite moment for me has to be the fact that I really got a kick out of all the God and devil talk that the Petersons were spouting on about while they were talking to Sam and Dean thing. I just found it so hilarious because they showed so much faith in God and God's will, and then devil and how he's forcing his own evil through you, like their talk about it. I found it hilarious because of the fact they're telling Sam and Dean, 2 guys who have personally met and dealt with God and the devil, and they know that this case is nowhere connected to God and the devil. While the family believes that these 2 huge entities are the reason why their family is separated in a way. I mean, the whole time that the Peterson family was talking about the higher power, about God's will, how she didn't want them to save those who were dying because it's God's will if he wants them to die. I kept on thinking, no, Sam and Dean know for a fact that Chuck doesn't care. He's off somewhere making amends with Amara. He doesn't care if this person lives or dies, type of thing. And then when when Mrs. Peterson is telling Magda that you are the devil, you're doing the devil's work, I'm like, no, he's not. Sam and Dean already know that Lucifer is at the bottom of an ocean because of Rowena, and he's going to be there for some time. So it was my favorite moment because of the fact that we as the audience know personally that God and the devil, Chuck and Lucifer, are no way connected to this family who solely believes that all the misfortune and goodwill that their family get is because of the devil and God being blessing or cursing them for this. So yeah. So I found that really hilarious, especially since we know for a fact where Chuck is and where Lucifer is, while previously, if we were back in season 2, episode 213, where we don't know if God existed or not. We don't know if Lucifer existed or not at that point in time. So then all this different cases dealing with faith really was up to faith. But in this time, this is the first time we actually get a religiously focused case after knowing for a fact that Chuck is God, or knowing for a fact that Lucifer is now out of the cage or locked in the cage. So yeah, sorry if I rambled, but I just got a kick out of that for sure, because the whole time I really wanted Sam and Dean just to make a comment, well, Yeah, no, that's not the case. Dean did make a comment about how him and God were besties, which I found hilarious because it's true to a point. So there's that. Moving on to top 3 peak moments. I really only had the one, and it was the fact that Dean missed the showdown, the final showdown. During the part where Sam was pretty much tied up in a chair, and it was basically his words that had to convince Magda not to kill her mother. But unfortunately, he had to watch as Mrs. Peterson killed her husband and her son. I really was expecting Dean to just kick down the door and storm right in to intervene. I was a little bummed that that wasn't the case. And even tell Sam later on, I was like, sorry, I missed the whole thing type. So there's that. What will I remember most when I look back on this episode? Pretty much the fact that humans were the enemy in this episode. It's kind of like another Max Miller case that was all the way back at episode 114. So there is that. The only supernatural aspect was the fact that Magda herself was a psychic, and that was pretty much it. There's the timer. So moving on though, random questions. I only have the one. How long before Sam and Dean realize that they have a hitman following them with orders from the British men of letters? Is that going to make them more resistant to that guy's offer? Nick, I think it was, his offer for them to align themselves with the British branch. So there's that. Moving on to the predictions, final time. Based off the promo for 12:05, it looks like we're dealing with a cursed pocket watch, and it looks like Dean wants to use the grenade launcher. Finally. I have to say that finally because in a few convention panels now, Jensen and Jared have mentioned the fact that there is a grenade launcher in the Impala trunk, and yet Sam and Dean have not used it yet. So it's great to finally see it being brought out of the trunk. So there's that. Synopsis, though, for the episode reads, huge title, Everybody Still Hates Hitler. It seems that after learning that the soul of Adolf Hitler has been trapped in a 1930s gold pocket watch, Sam and Dean must act quickly to prevent a group of Nazi necromancers from resurrecting the Fuhrer. I think I said that right. But off of that, the synopsis though, question, will this episode be connected to our previous Hitler episode that was done back in episode 813? Are we dealing with the Thule Society again? Be very interesting to see if it is, and if we'll see some familiar faces because of it. Otherwise, that's pretty much all there is for my connections. Is Castiel going to be joining Sam and Dean again, or is he going to stay with Crowley as they try to figure out where exactly Lucifer is at the bottom of an ocean? Will Rowena be with them or not? Will we see Mary again on her own, or will we only see her when she's finally decided to come back to Sam and Dean? Who knows? I guess we'll have to find out for that. But what did you guys think of the episode? What did you guys like about it? What do you think is going to happen next? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your own thoughts, theories, and predictions. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. The link for that is down below. I reblog promos, web clips, quotes, GIFs, synopses, all of that as up to date as I can. So if you want to follow me through that, go check that out. Also, my WordPress account is connected to that. So if you want to see the other stuff that I do, go check that out. It's still a work in progress, but most of the stuff is up. So there's that. Also, if you want a step-by-step recap of what happened in the episode, check out my live journal entry. The link for that is down below. You really do get a step-by-step account of what happened in the episode, a few quotes along the way, as well as my own in-moment thoughts as I'm watching the episode for the first time. So a few questions pop up here and there, a few in-moment reactions or realizations or just random comments that I've made while I'm watching the episode. You can find them out there. And that's about it. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you come back next week to hear what I have to say about the next episode. But until then, guys, this is Mel wishing you all a great day, great week wherever you are. Bye for now.